Well, hello everyone. Welcome back. Here we are.
Woo!
Woo! It's Drinker and MauLer, and we're here for another episode of our Firefly watch through. I'm
Episode
I'm loving
4.
this. Yeah. Episode 4, which is Hoedown, is it? No, Shindig. Hoedown.
Shindig.
Whoops. Shindig.
Which
Um,
is worth mentioning just in case anyone wanted to know. We're going with the not the airing order, but the original intended order, which is got the bonus for being in continuity. So it's how the events are supposed to run out.
And MauLer is my guide on this one, so I'll take your recommendation on the correct order to watch these episodes. But yeah, I mean, I guess this is where I can give a few thoughts initially on how I found episode 4. Because I feel like I'm always put on trial with this. I have to give my opinion first, so I'll just
I
jump
do it with
right in.
Star Trek, all right? So.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I can just sit in silent judgment back then. Yeah, so with Shindig, it's a very like Mal and Inara focused episode. Obviously, deepens the relationship, I suppose, between them and fleshes it out a bit. You get some really good back and forth sparring between them, and also you get to see what he's willing to sacrifice for her, I suppose, and what he's willing to risk. And it's a nice little insight as well into the high society aspect of the world of Firefly. This is where we get to see how the other half live. So it's quite cool. There's like a lot of class-based stuff. There's some great little scenes with Kaylee as well when she's in her dress, trying to fit in at the ball. She's like Cinderella.
I think she's like the sleeper hit for the character for this episode because it is definitely about Mal and Indara, but you get a decent bit of Kaylee as well.
She's there's just something tremendously endearing about her in almost every situation, but particularly here, where even when she's dealing with these like stuck up assholes, like who are kind of mocking her, like she still tries to see the best in them, and she still tries to meet them on their own terms, which I just think is great. It's really nice. It's really endearing. So yeah, it's all good stuff. But yeah, I enjoyed this episode a lot, actually.
I'm rather fond of it myself. Looking forward to talking about the pieces as we go.
Alrighty. Well, should we dive right in then and get started with this?
I believe so, yes.
All right. For all the people watching at home, if you've got episode 4 warmed up and ready to go, I will count us down. 3, 2, 1, go.
We also get Badger's back for this episode as well.
Yeah, I like him. I was trying to place where I'd seen the actor, and I realized he was in Battlestar Galactica, the remake.
Oh, okay. I know him from Supernatural.
Right. Yeah, I don't know if he was just a big thing back in the 2000s. Like, that was just his time, because I've not really seen him recently in anything. But he's a good actor. I like him. I like how they've got a holographic pool table. Like, why?
I love management is not responsible for ball failure. Like, I just love this. It's so unnecessary, but I'll accept it.
Yeah, it's just like we need to be reminded we're in a sci-fi show occasionally.
Well, and something I really like this scene in retrospect of the episode as well, right? Because she does mention fundamentally something about Mal's character, which two elements that are captured here very well. He has chosen to sort of go against the rules of the standard civilization at hand, being the Alliance. And he's like, I'm going to be a criminal. And yet he fucking despises almost all the criminals he deals with.
Yeah.
It's like, you don't fit well almost anywhere, and you choose to get yourself in situations where you don't fit well anywhere. That's like your thing. And so whenever you see, like, do you remember when he enters the ball sort of thing? She's like, oh, fuck. Because being there is going to end badly. And I love that he has taken money off this guy because he doesn't like him. He was talking to him about how he probably ran slaves. It's just like, yeah, just want to fuck him over, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a moral code to a point, but not with certain people.
And then it's like, well, Jane will be up for a bar fight.
Yeah, he just like immediately launches himself into it. But yeah, I like that line from Mal as well, where it's like he's not going to notice I've stolen his money till he gets his next drink, and then the guy confronts him immediately. It's like, quick drinker, huh?
Yeah. Oh, and there's a stunt to end the scene of getting tossed across the bar, and I was like, damn, that looks good.
Yeah, it really is, because he goes flying. Look at that!
It's great.
Yeah, I don't know if the dude was on a wire or something to help hold him up, but it's almost like he's defying gravity there.
The thing is, the further back in time you go, the more people are part of projects, especially ones they care about, are just like, you know what? Just throw me. It's like, you sure? Like, I'll be fine. I've done this so many times. I know what I'm doing.
Bones are for pussies anyway. I don't need them.
It's just fun because a lot of the time you'll hear stories of how they achieved an iconic scene will have been illegally or dangerously or something, and you'll be like, oh shit, really?
Yeah. There's so much red tape around like health and safety.
Yeah.
Like especially now, but probably it was back then as well. You still had to deal with it. And yeah, I think sometimes they just choose to ignore it or sign a little waiver just so they can get the shot they need. And I respect the hell out of people that do that.
Yeah, just like a tidbit. I know that Terminator, a lot of it was shot illegally.
Like in the like locations and stuff.
Yeah, he didn't have permits for certain places he was shooting on. He was just like, just get it done. Go, 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 and we'll go.
That's pretty fine. That's awesome.
Guerrilla filmmaking. And yeah, another running joke throughout the Family Guy, Jesus, Firefly and Serenity.
Sorry, I called this episode Hoedown as well, so you're fine.
The nature of how they're just on the edge of their ship falling apart at all times, and how everything is very ramshackle, and they're not sure how much it's going to stay together. I just like the line, I might crash and kill all of us. He's like, well, if it happens, let me know.
Yeah, he's pretty blasé about everything.
It's just so normal to them now.
It's like as the ship's vibrating around them.
It's honestly an important aspect of the story that they remain underdogs, right? If they ever, you could make a story about how they hit some kind of big payout, and I could imagine that would have been an episode at some point. It's not in this season, but maybe it would have been in a season 2 or 3 where they get to all buy the things they want or something. And you could explore that. But like a lot of the big payouts they get, there'll be some kind of drawback. If you think about when they have to give the supplies back in an episode, or they have them taken off them in order to get away, exchange it for their people.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can play a lot with like the characters' values about like, well, are you going to sacrifice this huge payout for the sake of like a crew member's well-being or something like that? And it's like, well, it really tests what's important to them. It's all good stuff. And like, yeah, it's always the challenge with shows. The longer they run, is like having a sense of progression while also maintaining the general status quo. So otherwise, you don't upset the formula too much.
When you hit on a working formula, but the audience will get restless eventually of just being like, yeah, I know how this ends because you've done it 10 times.
Yeah.
The constant pull and pull. I like, by the way, one of her little suggestion people there said, the honor you do me flatters my honor.
Yeah, she immediately just like swipes left on him.
Yeah. Also, yeah, they always do well, the dialogue between these two. There's always loads of insults just underneath all the lines themselves, right? Like he says, Atherton's a regular, and she clearly is offended by that and says, I've seen him before.
Yeah.
Like it's not, she doesn't like referring to it the way that he does.
Well, it's weird because like a lot of the time it's very subtle wordplay and stuff, and it's just like niggling at her, and then occasionally he'll just really cross the line and blurt shit out that he shouldn't.
Well,
and
not only
he regrets it.
Not only will he call her a whore sometimes, but he'll just be in front of people who haven't even met her yet.
Yeah.
And we get to address this episode that feels contradictory, and he gets to get a chance to explain.
Oh, his explanation is great because it's like, I disrespect your profession, but that guy disrespected you as a person, and that's what I won't abide. And I thought that's pretty cool.
That ship that was landing in the background, by the way, apparently the design of it is from Star Wars graphic novel called Dark Empire. Just a fun little fact, I guess, that there's another one that's going to come up in this, and I think will surprise you in terms of a design choice. But I think they just try to snatch a couple references here and there to more famous stuff, just because they're like, it's celebratory of media.
It's such an amazing, fucking weird kaleidoscope of styles and eras and everything here. Like,
well, and it got criticized heavily for that when it came out. A lot of people didn't like this. They're like, it's just a fucking, it's collapsing in on itself with not knowing what it is. It doesn't have an identity. But in retrospect, a lot of people felt that it had nothing but an identity.
Yeah, I think back then, if you were to ask Whedon, like, okay, so how does all this work? He'd be able to spend the next hour describing the exact setup of this world and, you know, how everything came about, why people are dressed the way they are and stuff. I think a lot of thought was put into it. It's just probably they didn't get enough time to let it all bed in.
That was a way of. I love doing conflict like this. He's already annoyed because they're kind of late. He's moving shit that's heavy, and then it's like, why are we wasting time looking at fucking dresses? You're an engineer. It would look ridiculous if you put that shit on.
Yeah,
and the mistake he's making is not recognizing. It's like she's human. Like, try not to forget that.
Yeah, and like she's in a lot of ways she's like super girly, and she's like really entranced by the idea of a pretty dress, and like, dude, she kind of just couldn't let her have it, and he's she's
a character I feel like we wouldn't be allowed to have nowadays in a lot of ways, because what they do with her is she's very impressive with engineering, which is rare for you don't get a lot of female engineer characters, right? But simultaneously, the show argues that she wants the girlier stuff a lot of the time. It's not that she's ashamed of being an engineer or anything or doing more masculine things. It's that she likes both.
Yeah, and which is great.
it is because I love the payoff at the end of the episode, right, where she's just looking at her dress and obviously thinking about the fun time she had, get to explore that side of her, sort of thing. I find that, again, the word I would use is honest. It just feels so much more respectful of the kind of character you could believe would exist, as opposed to probably like an Insecure line. Like, you'd look ridiculous in a dress, and it's like, I'd look great no matter what I fucking wear, and I could choose to do whatever I want to do. And at the end of the episode, she's like half in a dress and half in an engineer outfit.
You know what I think they would do now is like she would hate the idea of a dress, and like she would be required to wear it to get into this ball with him, and she'd be like, oh god, this is so awful, I can't move in it feels horrible, and he's like forcing her to do it because, you know, it goes against their nature. And yeah, it would be so trite and predictable today.
And that's the thing, it's it almost wastes conflict, because she clearly picked up what he was saying and she was obviously offended. Zoe looked at him like, hello, do you not understand what you just said to her? And then Jane approves of the comment. He's like, yeah. And then he's just like, what, why are they mad? Like, I don't even
Yeah, I mean, that's pure Jane, isn't it? I like during this whole negotiation, he's just eating constantly. So
he throws a few insults out, and it like pisses off Badger, and Mal's just happy. Like, you wonder if he has him around for stuff like that sometimes, say some stuff he wants to say but won't. I also would have thought you'd love the fucking line at the end of this where he says something like, diamonds the size of testicles, I've got my hands on a couple. It's so childish but perfect, the reaction they have. It's like, do you want to do the fucking job or not? Yeah, I like if Jane approves of something Mal has said to someone, then he's probably like, oh, I probably was wrong then.
Yeah, it's like he's quite a useful barometer on what not to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I like this as well. Little security screen. You see how it works.
Yeah, this is what they had for when Joker was getting screened, you know? Had to be careful.
Of course, yeah. Sure there was no terrorist attacks.
Atherton Wing, a character that you can hate just after a couple of sentences.
Yeah, it's just your typical rich toff, I suppose.
Yeah, dripping with pretentiousness. To be fair, a lot of these people are. It's kind of the vibe.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole thing, isn't it? Of like,
well, and I do appreciate that they have plenty of not like they're not just all variations of Atherton or something. They're not all worthless and sort of shallow.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's the point where Kaylee's getting made fun of by the the other women, and this other guy comes in to help her out and like just insults them and chases them off, and then she's like regaling them all with all these stories about engineering. Like they're actually quite taken by her.
I love that shit as a payoff. It's so much fun because you have to watch her get made fun of through just like your fashion is bad when we have all the context of how she's even here. She's not a fucking, she doesn't know she's just trying to have fun, right? It's like, it's kind of sad. And then
she's still, she's still trying to be nice to them as well, even when they're insulting her.
Oh, and this to me is another example of Mal being, he's just a smart lad, right? So think about it from pragmatically, he's got the job to do. So he's got to get in here to speak to the guy who the job's a part of. The secondary objective, repair the relationship you have with Kaylee. So he's like, oh, well, I can just go in with her, give her the opportunity to wear the dress. It'll make her feel better. And, that should sort that out. And then his side objective of Mal's, which would be, what is Inara up to? Sorry.
Yeah, it's like, well, okay, kill three birds with one stone.
Exactly, and it's just well written at that point. You can see exactly why he's made this decision. He doesn't make it overt, and it's satisfying for him to get all these things done. But ironically, he ends up in a really bad situation.
It is great how willing he is to just throw fists in any scenario. Yes. It's like, I deserved it. It's a great name, actually, Atherton Wing. Just so ridiculously upper crust and posh. It's like takes up the entire width of the door.
Yeah. Still, with everything we know about her, it seems right that she would like that dress.
Oh, yeah. It's interesting going back to like the point you made about like a lot of people were put off by the aesthetics of this show. I feel like maybe I was one of them back in the day when I think we talked about this probably when we initially went into this watch through. But when I saw this advertised back in the day, I just remember thinking like, what the hell is this weird like space cowboy bullshit? Like I don't get it. I don't know what this is supposed to be. And it's a shame because obviously like a lot of people. Yeah, and it's such an interesting example, I suppose, of like how things, if they don't like just fit into a neat category at first glance, it can be difficult to get into them. And then, look at that, like to its detriment, I suppose, like because a lot of people just wouldn't have given it a chance and didn't get the viewing figures it needed.
A lot of people feel this show was ahead of its time, right? If it had released even a decade later, it would have been far more popular.
I would be inclined to agree. Yeah, I think perhaps people might have been more open-minded with it.
Also, that chandelier, by the way, first of all, I just like how extravagant and over the top it is. And Malice, like, why? Like, what? She's like, the chandelier floats. And he's like, yeah, but why? But secondly, if you look closely at it, precious viewers at home, and maybe drink it later if you want to, the one ring is in it.
Is it? Oh, that's brilliant. Because that would have been so current at that time.
Yeah. As far as I'm aware, they've even got like the Elvish inscription on it.
That's a neat touch. It's just like a cornucopia of like pop culture, sci-fi references, like fantasy.
This whole thing is like a celebration of stuff like that, while ironically ending up being the core for a lot of inspiration going forward. There's so many projects that were made later that would cite Firefly as a big inspiration.
I love behind them, like that is just literally the trays from like the in-flight service on a plane. It's great how they're betting on chores as well. All the shit they don't want to do. Yeah, because I can't remember if we talked about, like, I don't know what the budget was for something like this, but like I get the feeling they did have to improvise quite a bit and just use what was available. Like a lot of just like current day stuff that they didn't even bother to dress up like sci-fi-ish.
Yeah, I'd imagine we see, and this is the case for a lot of productions, but we see the end product, but just outside the frame and underneath every last thing we see is just a pile of mess of them desperately keeping everything up.
Yeah.
And hoping to capture that escapism for you. But what I do know is that the people who made this like thoroughly adored making this, the whole team. And
Well,
they were all very sad they didn't get to make more of it.
I mean, I can understand why. I mean, the inside of the Serenity is like a really interesting environment visually, like because there's so many different areas. They've all got a unique look to them. It's all very lived in, very cozy looking. It is good stuff.
I'm very fond of it. There's in the opening of the Serenity, the movie, they do a oneer that goes through the vast majority of the ship, and it's such a feeling of, oh, fucking hell, I really wish they did get to make more of this. There's such a clear design and vision for this. To remember if this is like these guys' only scene in this episode.
They don't.
Fun.
Yeah, they don't do a huge amount here. I mean, that's the thing when you've got a big ensemble cast like this. Like some episodes are just going to leave out certain characters.
Oh yeah, there's no need to bring in more than is this, because this episode is quite stuffed with character and plot and stuff. And again, he says, I think he slaps her ass after saying, "Here lies my beloved Zoe, my autumn flowers." Like, would we even get an ass slapped in anything anymore? I don't know. It feels like too much.
I miss a good ass slapping.
Well, you know, it's good for. I sound like cringe saying it, but it's good for character building. The fact that she's so happy and comfortable with it shows how close they are.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're more vulnerable in a spot where they're just together and they've just had sex. I'm just saying that, like, it feels much more natural.
Yeah, well, it's the kind of like stupid shit that couples do with each other because, like, they are 100% comfortable with being around each other and doing all this stuff. Yeah,
because you know, on top of things we've talked about this before, but like, if it feels like in a lot of stuff they would have both of them wearing shirts as well after just having sex because they don't want to do anything, and it's just like, fucking hell,
tedious thing. Always with the strawberries with Kaylee, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. She literally just wants to be happy and for other people to be happy and to get along.
Yeah.
Like, why did you bow to me?
It's like, what's going on? It's such a goofy thing to say. There's hot cheese.
Oh, mean.
Such an interesting reality check for her as well, isn't it?
This, you know, like she thought, dude.
Yeah, he just comes in and
says, "You're a whore."
Yep.
Rescues her, and what makes it perfect to me is the ends with just, "I fucking can't abide useless people."
Yeah,
like he was just keeping an eye on it happening.
Again, like I feel like this show was made today with modern sensibilities. Everyone rich must be portrayed as an asshole, 100%. Mm-hmm. Like there wouldn't be a guy like that, especially not a man actually coming in, kind of.
Oh, absolutely not. No, and this is the thing that it's a double payoff. It's so great because that's already complete as like an idea, and you can talk about how it's a fun character moment. But to then show us that she is entertaining to him and his friends to the point where someone is impressed enough they want to dance with her or whatever, and then they're like, "No, shut the fuck up! She's talking about engines and she knows her shit." It's just really satisfying because we know that she's good at her job. So they're all. It's like when a girl knows their shit to the core about like a nerd thing. You're just like, "Whoa, wow, go for it!" Like, what else?
Yeah.
Do you have?
I'm trying to place that actor because I have seen him in many things.
I'm with you on that. I feel like I recognize him, but I don't know what from.
It's interesting because when Mal approaches this guy, it's not like he's immediately like, okay, yeah, let's do business. Like, what can you do for me? It's like he really has to win him over.
Yeah.
He's playing it very cagey.
Well, it's like they said, calling Badger a psychotic lowlife is an insult to their community. And then, yeah, like I love that too. It's sort of, he doesn't like that. It's uncomfortable for Mal.
Yeah.
It's like, don't do that.
Oh, it's a neat little trap, that, isn't it? It's like,
it is, because, give her up. Come on. Be
You're
normal.
a generous man, aren't you?
Doesn't take that long for him to get jealous, though.
Even that's like a nice little insult, yeah.
Yeah.
So business for you, isn't it?
He's doing pretty well, to be honest with you, with this dance, considering you wouldn't think he would know it. I think that's why they had him say, like, I think I do know this one.
It's ooh.
Is that not a great way to summarize Mal, though? My work is illegal but honest.
Yeah. It's like he's at least honest about who he is and what he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's what does him in about what her line of work. It's always a good venue for a character conflict, a dance like this, because you can layer in the movements of the dance with like how they're relating to each other. Like someone falters in their step because they've been knocked off guard by it's good stuff. I like how he's actually holding a plate full of chocolates for her. Like, they're just like completely enraptured by this.
It's just cool the aspect they respect her for what's in her brain. Every other girl here has to just do the usual of like, your dress isn't good enough and stuff like that. It's just fun.
And they know enough about like the things that she's talking about that they can tell that she's on the level, and like they're actually able to engage with her.
Yeah, she didn't appreciate that either.
No. Touché, sir. Just knocks him out.
This is my kind of party. That's great. I love this too because it's like, fist fight, yeah, let's go. And it's like, no, not fists. He's like, pistols, sure, let's do it. It's like, no, swords.
Yeah, it's like the one thing I know fuck all about.
A SWAT.
Again, it's like in a culture and a venue like this, what else could they deal with but with swords? Of course it is.
Of course. And yeah, just naturally, they've already showed us it's not exactly a strong point for her. We have a scene with a fucking sword. And yeah, I just like that he's won him over because he hates Atherton himself.
Yeah. I mean, from his point of view, though, like the outcome of the fight really isn't in doubt. Like, he might be his second, but it's like you're probably going to get killed. So,
Yes. Yeah, it's Mal for you.
so Jane spends his days.
This is a fun dynamic as well, by the way. Well, I was actually going to say from a writing perspective, right? The scene is Badger arrives, and it's just an obvious thing of we'll have him interrupt the person he's going to meet doing something. It's like, what's Jane doing? It's like, well, it's probably good to show that he's actually working out. That's why he's going to be relied upon for his fucking muscle. It helps you believe the role he plays for this team, right? Just tiny things like that I think are really important for writing in general. But
and what does he do? Like, he goes for a gun as soon as like there's a knock at the door.
Mm-hmm. And another thing I was going to bring up was I actually really enjoy this as Badger arrives. He's got bad news, and they immediately get into the zone of, okay, let's make a plan. How are we going to get him out of there? And then Badger's like, no, I'm here to make sure you don't leave. Like, it's bad for my reputation if anything fucks up with him because I work with him. So let's just wait for it to play out. You guys to stay and put. Which they needed to sort out because, of course, they would try to help him. And yeah, that's the obvious reaction to that.
Yeah.
But they got leverage. Hi.
That's a great line.
Just stays in the wall.
Ooh.
Seemed like the thing to do.
It's so simple in his mind, isn't it? It's like,
Yeah.
Someone insults her, I'm gonna punch him.
And I really enjoyed this, that we do have an opportunity to get him out. But he's like, yeah, but even if we're going to lose, I don't want to.
That's a great response. It's like, yeah, you back down all the time. Not this one.
You had trouble with the pillar.
I mean, that's a bit of a leap, really. It's like, she's a companion. I don't know if she's like a sword fighter.
Well, that's more establishing to us that is apparently true in this universe, that she would have familiarity with a sword because of the role that she plays. Like, what I guess I'm saying is that's apparently just the way it works here, because he's saying it. It's like we're so early on in this show. It's like that's now a fact. So they would fuck up if they didn't keep to that later on.
Yeah. It's like if you're in that upper class world, if you move in those circles, I guess you just get trained in all these things.
Apparently. What's so great about that is Zoe's husband seems more outraged at him getting naked than his wife. No.
James seems like the kind of guy who would just do it as well. He wouldn't care.
I like how Book did that. It's like we should not show ourselves being particularly upset that she's there, but you need to move her away because she's kind of a compromising element of our team.
I must admit, I was a bit confused as to why they just let her go at the end of this scene.
Well, they were. They don't consider that of any interest, right? They were hoping she wouldn't say anything that would make them very interested in her, and she does manage to convince him she's not of any particular meaning here. She's just another crew member.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to bring this up, and like, God bless the actress and stuff, but when she has to do the British accent, like, ooh,
well, the thing is,
it's a rough one.
In universe, that's not her accent, so it kind of works, right?
Well, I know it's like she's obviously pretending to be from the same place as him, and he buys it. Like, you know, hey, you and I are the same, but like we can listen to them and know that like that's an American actress doing a pretty poor impersonation of a Cockney accent.
I suppose what's kind of funny is they are in space, right? So I don't know if he would actually get. He's just shocked at the fact that anything close to where he's from is being spoken by somebody, and that what's kind of funny, was it open bar I was mentioning this, but I had a delivery person just need to sign something, talked long enough that they noted my accent. They were like, "Oh, you're not from Britain," and I was like, "No, I am." And he was
Where do they think you're from?
They think American. They actually thought my voice was it had an American side to it. I was like, no, born and raised in fucking Wales, but all right. And it's obviously as a result of how many fucking Americans I talk to and all the American media I consume and all the impressions I try to do, that my accent has like changed gradually. So what I guess I'm saying is that I think I could believe that he could believe that her accent is off just as a result of all the cultures mixing across all of the universe. And he's just amazed by the fact that he's come across someone who's even close to his.
I mean, I'll cut them some slack. Like, obviously, in terms of the writing in the script, she's meant to be doing a close enough impersonation of his accent that he doesn't sort of spot the difference or whatever. I think it's more just like a meta thing of like an audience member as a Brit.
No, yeah, I get you completely.
Just like, yeah, okay, maybe the actress didn't have much time
if you were from the place and she was supposed to be nailing that accent, I'd be completely with you. But my assumption is that we can contextualize it as she's not nailing it because of the fact that she's desperately trying to come across as though she's not anything of note on their ship. And he's like so surprised by it. It's kind of neat for him, and that's it. Also, this conversation's great.
Yeah, it ties into the point you made earlier. It's like he kind of antagonizes everyone.
Yep, he's restless as a man. He's not found his place.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is a bit more vulnerability than he ever likes to show, but he's basically just saying, please don't be with a guy who fucking kills me. That would upset me a bit. It was just FYI.
Well, it's like during that moment he couldn't look at her.
Yeah.
It's kind of eyes down. It's difficult for him.
But yeah, she shows him a move at the beginning of this scene, and he's just like, "Oh, do they teach you that in Horror Academy?"
Yeah, it's like, damn, man, this is like that escalated fast.
Yeah. And yeah, just with everything we know, they do a good job. Every line has a lot of bite to it, right? The you lay out a man for implying I'm a whore, but then you call me one to my face. It's like, I respect your job. Or I don't respect your job, I respect you. Then she says, okay, then I guess you just die now. That's like the solution to all these problems. And he says, those are your society's rules. And she's like, you don't follow anybody's rules. What are you saying that for?
Yeah, it's like two very conflicting ideologies and worldviews coming into immediate conflict with each other. And there's no easy resolution to it.
Yeah, we haven't even followed them for that long, but there's just so much to work with that it makes for really interesting conversations. I found this somewhat satisfying, right? That he's obviously going to win, but then he gets a chance because she distracts him to do what you would call dirty tactics, but it's just more so what he's better at.
Yeah, I mean, I did get to the resolution of this fight and thought, like, yeah, you fucking cheated there. Like, she had to help you out, and then you just totally like took advantage. But yeah, well, it's
The thing is, the
with his
fight wasn't
character
fair to
perfectly.
begin with, right? Like, it's why should they have to fight with swords? It's like, well, it's because the rules of this society. It's like, it's not the rules of Malcolm's society, so why do
No.
you have to agree?
Well,
But I
like
guess,
you're
this
because it's like, you know,
you should have
it's
known
not-
that punching someone means you have to duel them, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, like for these guys, it would never enter into their heads for him to not kill them, or for the victor to not kill the defeated man. But for him, it's like, no, why should I? Like, that's not my rules. I don't have to abide by that.
Oh, dude, there's so many of them. I said there'd be so many of them as we do it, but another favorite Mal moment for me is when he says, you know, mercy is the mark of a great man. Then stabs him and goes, I guess I'm just a good man. Stabs him again. I guess I'm okay. It's fucking great.
Just throws the blade at him. Like, damn.
And just punch with the handle. It's like, yeah, I win. When he says later, you didn't have to wound that man, he says, yeah, but it was funny.
Well, that's giving him all the ammunition he needs. It's like, oh, I get to humiliate him. Perfect.
And it definitely gives a chance for this character to come back someday, you know?
Ooh, interesting.
It's just a standard for a lot of TV shows. A lot of one-episode villains that end up getting their second chance.
Well, yeah, I mean, I feel like it doesn't happen as often as I might like, actually, and it's quite a pleasant surprise when it does happen, you know, because sometimes you get a redemption arc with them, sometimes they come back stronger.
Yeah.
It's nice when writers take the time to do that.
Farscape had a couple of them.
Like, yeah, I suppose so.
Because, yeah, you had your mains, and then being Krace and Scorpius, and then they had a lot of just...
I think Grunch comes back a few times.
Yes.
He was the guy who played Immortan Joe, actually, which is quite cool.
Yeah, and they're giving us a bit more companion lore as well.
Yeah, they're almost like the assassins in John Wick. They all communicate. Like, oh, you've been excommunicated.
Well, it's just the highest class of, you know, escort or whatever, so that it, I guess, does make some sense that they have a network that they can warn each other of people you shouldn't be anywhere near.
And he's in business now. Like, all this time they've been trying to come up with a plan. They still haven't done anything.
They were going to save him any second now. Like, it's very deliberate, right? She's in her engineering outfit. She's got a bit of like oil on her as well. After a hard day's work.
Her quarters are like they belong to a 12-year-old girl. You know, like the hand-painted sign and stuff and all the little lights everywhere.
I don't know. It's like you listed classical music as a hardcore, very impressive engineer. Loves all the girly things too, and is kind of a child at heart. It just feels like a collection of traits that they managed to really make work in a character.
Yeah, and yeah, I don't think a lot of shows would have the balls to do something like that now. Look at there's a Union Jack on the door behind them.
is a really decent conversation. One of the highlights for me is where he says, "I got stabbed," right there. Then she says, "Wasn't entirely a disaster." He's like, "I got stabbed right here." Isn't it funny how many TV shows have the main guy is gonna have sexual tension that builds throughout all of the episodes with a girl? It's just like a standard for TV.
Well, it keeps people guessing. It keeps people invested. It's like once they actually get together, all the tension and the interest is gone. That's why shows try so hard to keep it going as long as possible. Mm-hmm. And like if they do get together, something probably is going to split them apart, so you can reset.
Yeah.
It's just human nature. That's how our crazy brains work. We love seeing people. We love unrequited love stories, or, it's the anticipation of people getting together is more interesting than the reality of it. There you go. That's your cargo. Bunch of beef. It's funny. Like, again, it's got all the cowboy elements, but like ported into a sci-fi setting. There you go. That there was episode 4.
Yes, it
Shindig.
was.
And I enjoyed that a great deal. Again, showed us a very different side of the world that these characters live in. Really helped to flesh out our understanding of Mal and Inara and their relationship. And, Kaylee, like you say, I think was the kind of sleeper hit of that episode. Just immensely entertaining character. Just very likable.
She's not got a lot of screen time, but all of it's used really well.
Yeah. And some great comedy moments, with the rest of the crew just like really taking their time coming up with an escape plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, oh man, just coming up with that perfect combination of humor, bit of action, bit of intrigue, bit of world building, bit of character insights, and some nice sexual romantic tension.
What more do you need?
Yeah. I mean, I expected good things from this show. Obviously, you recommended it highly, and just with each episode, I'm just finding so much that I can enjoy. Even with the previous one, it got off to a slow start, but it built up to something really exciting by the end, and the pace really picked up. And with this one, I think we just got a nice, well-rounded episode that had a bit of everything, and that was great.
I think so. The other thing is they could be dealing with something as simple as someone's missing a pen and they have to find it. As long as I like the characters, I'll be fine.
Yeah. And they are immensely entertaining. Like, I think they picked such a great group of actors for doing this. Like, they've all got a lot of charisma, good sort of presence, and their comedy timing is excellent. They seem to have settled into their characters so quickly as well. I think you find with a lot of shows like this, when you go back and watch the first season, it's a bit rough and you feel like the actors haven't quite gotten to grips with their characters. They haven't figured out the angle on them. But I feel like with this, everyone knows right off the bat who they're playing, what their personality is. And probably a lot of that's come down to good writing, good direction. They've been told a lot to give them.
You're absolutely right. Most of the best shows, even people will say, yeah, season 1, 2, a bit rocky or whatever, but it really finds its footing after that. This show didn't have that problem to the point where people recommend the hell out of season 1, and that's all you get.
Yeah. But I think it's a good benchmark on efficient writing for how to introduce a lot of characters, get the audience to know them really quickly, and really stay consistent in terms of their behavior, how they approach things, and give them all plenty of screen time so they've all got a chance to say their piece about any particular situation. It all just constantly reinforces that audience understanding of who they are, what they value, and how they see the world.
Mm-hmm.
So I like it. The writer in me appreciates this stuff.
Yeah.
So, well, anyway, that right there was episode 4 of Firefly. I hope you enjoyed our little watch through of it, and you can catch us on the next one. But for now, today, that is all we've got for today. So go away now.
Bye.